Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'd like to talk about Colorado and bird flu, what's been going on. I want to do a cursory review of what has been published by the news. And then in another video, I'm going to go over the actual findings from some of the samples that the CDC has done, give you my take on it. I've done a video, I think it's episode 5, on the CDC dashboard update for highly pathogenic avian influenza H5N1. So please watch Gen 0 episode 5 to get updated on that. So let's do the cursory review. But before we do that, make sure that you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please subscribe to all those channels. All the links are in the description of this video. So just click the link and subscribe to all the channels. Please go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, to be able to help support my work. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee on the home page, or you can be a paid member of my Patreon channel. The link is in the description of this video. That way you can help support my work. Most of my videos are for free. Thousands and thousands of videos that I have done are for free. So please help support the channel by donating and by going to the store and purchasing the products that I have. That helps to boost up your immune system, slow down the aging process, increase your vitality and longevity. With that said, let's do the cursory review right now. This is Fox 31 Denver. This one was 2 days ago. Now the videos that I'm going to play some of them that are very recent and some of them that may go back about 2 months, just to get an idea of what was transpiring.
Switching gears, brand new information tonight about the massive bird flu outbreak right here in Colorado.
Yeah, a team from the CDC now on the ground in Weld County investigating how 5 workers became infected. Matt Morrow here now to explain that.
Well, Jeremy, tell you, it was a combination of the extreme heat, industrial fans, and flying feathers that likely led to 5 workers getting infected with the bird flu. None had to go to the hospital, and all are recovering tonight. As we told you last week, the egg-laying farm in Weld County had recently got infected with the bird flu, so all 1.8 million chickens there had to be killed. To do that, workers would pull out the chickens and put them in a cart. Then it would be filled with carbon dioxide, and they would die within about a minute and a half. We are now learning from the CDC about what.
Now, as they're mentioning this, they have 160 workers exposed, 60 tested, 5 tested positive. Okay. I'll also discuss what was published on the CDC website in terms of serum testing for antibodies with workers on farms. But I'm going to do that in a different video. But in this right here, there was 160 workers, 60 were tested, there were 160 workers, 60 were tested, and 5 tested positive. Now, what's important here is that we were hearing for a few months, the exposures were only from cattle, from dairy cows, and that, at least in 2024, and that it was very slow, in terms of animal to human transmission. Very low, very hard for this to happen. And they were conjunctivitis through the eye. So in this case, you hear this ramp up of cases in Colorado. And it seems to be that maybe not all, but some of these cases, this ramp up that we're seeing is due to the actual disposing of the animals because of the conditions that they're in collecting the animals, disposing of the animals, right? So their exposure actually was increased through exterminating the animals versus letting the animals just live. I think that's an important thing to put in the back of your head here.
160 workers were inside a huge barn in sweltering temperatures Outside, it was at least 100 degrees. It was much hotter inside. The workers were wearing light paper protective suits over their clothing, N95 respirators, goggles, boots, and gloves, all while industrial fans blew air through the barn. They also blew feathers, which can carry the virus. Federal health officials say the goggles or the masks probably slipped, and the feathers or other particles blew the air, likely infected the workers there. A total of 60 workers got tested for the bird flu. Again, as of today, 5 have tested positive. It's possible that more could end up testing positive for the bird flu, and others could have different viruses too. The CDC says there is one lesson to be learned here. It's that workers around animals with bird flu need to wear the proper PPE, and ventilation should be increased. They also maintain that cooked egg and poultry products are safe to eat. Jeremy?
Now, we have to dive a little bit farther in. The number of cases in Colorado, were most of them through disposal of the animals or through just normal contact with live animals? All right. I think that's really important to understand. Now, my understanding is that as of this recording, there are 5, perhaps even 6.
If you listen carefully, you'll hear everything in the market.
Either six cases or 5 cases as of this recording, which is on July 20th. All right. Now, if most of those cases are through normal exposure, not through disposal exposure, then that uptick in human exposure is concerning. All right, because I've mentioned this multiple times here. We have different receptors, and the avian receptors and the avian receptor, avian influenza receptors are actually lower in the lung. The human influenza receptors are higher in the lung, but mutations can take place in avian influenza that leads to higher affinity to the upper receptors in the lung, where it helps with human-to-human transmission. Now, none of these cases are showing human-to-human transmission. Good. Exposure to these animals, to animal-to-human transmission is still low, but there is this uptick, and the question is why? Is there some sort of mutational dynamic that's taking place in live animals? Or was the exposure to so many dead animals as they were disposing them increase their risk for contraction? I think it's the latter and not the former. So, keep that in mind.
The markets compose their own tunes, and once you learn to listen for them, you'll catch yourself humming along.
All right, let's listen to this.
My flight got canceled, and I'm at the airport.
I don't really care about your flight. This is okay. This is Reuters.
Across poultry farms in the U.S. As avian flu continues to spread across poultry farms in the U.S., egg and chicken producers are increasingly faced with culling their herds exposed to the virus. But experts are now beginning to warn that the process of killing the birds and disposing the carcasses could pose its own risks to humans and animals. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention this week said that the conditions inside a Colorado egg farm during the culling process likely contributed to cases of bird flu among workers, which amounted to the largest cluster of human cases of avian flu in the U.S. so far. Reuters correspondent Leah Douglas has been covering the outbreak.
So it was 104 degrees in Colorado. They were working under large industrial fans that were blowing feathers around. It was difficult for the workers to keep their PPE, their personal protective equipment, in place, their masks in place, and it may have contributed, those factors may have contributed to the number of infections that occurred in that particular farm, which so far the CDC has confirmed 4 human cases and 1 presumptive positive human case from that one farm in Colorado.
The workers had mild symptoms, including pink eye and respiratory issues. Data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture obtained by Reuters show about 95 million chickens, turkeys, and other poultry have been killed and disposed of since February 2022 through late June. After the herds are culled, the question becomes what to do with the carcasses.
Experts in depopulation and disposal of chickens say that the safest option in terms of controlling the spread of the virus is to compost the carcasses on the farm. That just contains where the birds' bodies are going, and so it makes it least likely that the virus will spread. In a case where the animals may need to be disposed of in a landfill, the concern there is mostly about the transportation process. So in the process of trucking these birds from the farm to a landfill, will there be some cross-contamination with other farms, for instance? One expert also in an interview referenced the potential that wild birds could contract the virus at a landfill and spread it, which is a very common way that avian flu moves from farm to farm.
U.S. data show just 3% of all poultry have been disposed of in landfills since 2022. Bird flu has migrated to nearly every U.S. state over the past 2.5 years. There have been 9 cases among poultry and dairy workers since March, including the Colorado cases. The CDC has said further bird flu spread among livestock could increase the likelihood of human infections, though the risk to the general public is still low.
Okay, that was Reuters 2 days ago. Now we have 9 News, local
The
news.
Centers for Disease Control is sending a team of 9 people to our state trying to help manage the bird flu outbreak here in Colorado. So far, our state has 5 confirmed infections. The state health department says that all of the cases are in workers at a commercial egg-laying operation in northeastern Colorado. Last week, the state reported an outbreak of avian flu in Weld County. Health officials say it is still safe to eat properly handled and cooked poultry products.
So it seems to me, from what
The
I'm
Centers for
hearing
Disease
here,
Control
is
is
that
sending a team of
this is an isolated incident within Colorado because of the exposure to the disposing of the animals. All right, let's this was 2 months ago. I haven't seen this. Let's just hear what this person has to say. This is a channel called Welcome to Chicken Landia. I don't know anything about this.
A wider smile brightens more than just your teeth. Colgate Optic White's unique hydrogen peroxide technology is engineered to remove deeper stains.
So the last time I was on here talking about avian influenza, it was like during the big scare, it was 2022, and I did a whole bunch of videos about it, and I told myself after I was done with that,
Before we do that, because this is PNN and I have to do a commercial, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nanosilver soaps that I have. This one is charcoal tea tree. This one is peppermint. I have many other types of structural nanosilver soaps, very high quality soaps. Go to my store, get a couple bars of this, and it will help to neutralize pathogens. In addition, I have a structural nanosilver gel. This will help to neutralize pathogens. You put it on your hands, they'll stay active for 5 hours. You can put it around your mouth, around your nose, around your eyes, around your ears, lightly coat your nostrils, and it'll help to be a barrier and help to neutralize pathogens. In addition, you can use this as a skincare. Every day, you can put it on your skin right before you go to bed, and you'll notice that your skin is clearer and tighter, especially on the face, and you just exfoliate in the morning. Do that every day. It will help with acne. And in addition, what you can use this for is to help to heal wounds, minor burns, abrasions. So please go to the store and get the structural nanosilver gel. Lastly, I have a structural nanosilver toothpaste. This whitens your teeth, freshens your breath, neutralizes pathogens, reduces gum irritation. With good oral hygiene, you will improve your overall health, especially cardiovascular health, because by having good oral hygiene, you're going to reduce cardiovascular disease and reduce the chances of valvular disease. The valves in your heart can get diseased by improper oral hygiene. So go to my store, get the structural nanosilver toothpaste. This is the best toothpaste that you can buy. There's nothing on the market that is better than this. So go to my store and get this toothpaste. It has no fluoride in it. It has structural nanosilver. It will neutralize pathogens. Go get a couple tubes of it for your household. 2, 3, 4 tubes of it. It's really important to follow my lead to improve your health, boost up your immune system, protect yourself from pathogens, slow down the aging process, and improve your longevity.
We're due another video about bird flu. It will be too soon. But here I am. The reason I'm here, there we go. The reason I'm here is because I don't want you to be afraid. So let's talk about it. Let's be reasonable about it. Let's just try and think clearly. Hello, friends. Welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known
This was
as
2
the
months.
president.
This is 2 months ago. So this is right when we're starting to see an uptick in the data with the dairy cows.
Of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life. And I want to help you find that too. Look at me holding 2 babies. Are you being a good boy, Zorro? You are a good boy. And you're a good little girl. All right, I'm going to put you guys down. I think it was last spring, I had the opportunity to attend a city council meeting. And what was going on is that the city was considering making it legal to keep backyard chickens in the city limits. It was an amazing opportunity. I got to hear people's concerns, which are important to know about. I got to hear why people wanted to have chickens. But one thing that really stuck in my mind is that a woman stood up and she came up to the microphone and she said, you know, I'm really concerned about bird flu. And I don't want that to become an issue. I don't want to get bird flu. And you could just see like the fear and the concern in her face. And it made me really sad because I knew that she didn't have all the information and that she is definitely not alone. So before I go any further, my disclaimer is rolling right now. I am not a scientist. I am not a veterinarian. I am not a doctor of any kind. I do not work for any kind of government agency. I'm not in the Illuminati like some people have suggested in the comments. It happened. I am first and foremost an enthusiast. I'm a chicken enthusiast. I am a backyard chicken educator. I have a great passion for chickens, but no matter what I say, or no matter what anyone says, what I want you to do is make sure that you do your own research, that you come up to your own conclusions so that you can feel good about making an educated decision about all the things that are going on concerning bird flu. So I just want to put that out there before I go any further. So you may have heard, or maybe you've read.
Picture this.
Overproduction.
Saving up to 10%.
I can't
bundle your home
stand-
and auto insurance with
Can't
USA.
stand overproduction videos.
So you may have heard, or maybe you've read that recently a human being in the United States tested positive for highly pathogenic avian influenza. That's H5N1, also known as bird flu. This person was an employee at a dairy farm in Texas. They only had one symptom. It was conjunctivitis. So they had a little bit of an infection in their eye. As of the recording of this video, this person has fully recovered and they are fine now. This is only the second known person to have been possibly infected with avian influenza in the United States. The first person happened in 2022. It was a gentleman that was part of a pre-release prison program in Delta, Colorado. In other words, he was a prisoner and the prison had him working at a commercial poultry farm. This farm had tested positive for avian influenza, and part of his job was dealing with the culling of nearly 60,000 broiler birds, and that's meat birds. And when I say culling, I mean the killing of all these birds. That guy also fully recovered. He's totally okay now, as far as I know. He just reported feeling tired for a few
So
days.
it's interesting. I didn't know that case that she's talking about was through the culling. I thought that it was through the feeding, but okay, that's interesting.
Also weren't completely sure that he was actually infected with the disease. They think that it is possible that since he was just in those conditions where there was so much viral material everywhere, and if you know anything about a poultry factory farm, I can't even imagine what those conditions were like. But since there was so much in the air, it's possible that he just had the viral material in his nose. And so when they did the swab, he tested positive. These two people are the only people in the United States that we know of that tested positive for H5N1 avian influenza. And I'm really stressing this because a lot of people, they will tell me, oh, I had bird flu, or oh my.
This is 2 months ago. So just keep that in mind.
Had bird flu and it was awful. And that is just not the case. I'm sure they had the flu and they probably tested positive for the flu, but it wasn't H5N1. It wasn't what they're talking about in the news. It was just probably an awful flu. And I know that the flu can be awful because I had influenza A in 2018 and it was not just conjunctivitis or 5 days of feeling tired. I was sick for
And this is really important. It's about testing and verification with sequencing. All right. As of right now, the chances of someone getting really bad influenza that's H5N1, highly pathogenic, is like almost zero. All right. And it's very low, even if you're working on a farm. So if you're really sick and you have that respiratory problem with influenza, you know, chances are it's not the H5N1 highly pathogenic. All right, that's a good point. And you know, and just see the problem that I noticed even during the crisis in 2020 is there were a lot of people saying that they had something but never tested, right? And then just say that they had it. You know, they say that they had, you know, COVID or whatever for, you know, 2 or 3 times. And you ask them how many times did you verify it with either PCR testing or serial testing, serum testing, you know, either for an antigen. If you contract something right away, you're going to have an antigen in your bloodstream, right? So did you, you know, at least in New York, people that were testing, they were testing in 3 different modalities, 3 different ways. All right. So, you know, a lot of people say that they had something during the 2020 crisis. And if you start diving in and saying, where's the test? Most of them will say that they didn't have a test. So they don't even know what they had. You know, they think, but they don't know. And she's bringing up a good point. Unless you test, you will not know, period. You may think, but you don't know. And there's a big problem with that. It needs to be verified. Lots of people say something, but unless you are using the science and logic and it's not verified, you could or you could not have had it. That's an important feature.
It was really bad. So I know that the flu can be awful, but if you're sick with the flu in the US, it is very probably not bird flu. And even if you're somewhere else in the world, bird flu, you know, a human being catching bird flu is extremely rare. And there's never been a case where a human being caught bird flu and then passed it on to someone else.
Well, we need to add a caveat to what she said. There are lots of different avian flus. This particular outbreak is the highly pathogenic avian flu, avian influenza that is part of the 1997 Guangdong lineage. All right. But there are other lineages that have mutated that can be passed from human to human. All right. And the same thing with swine, with the swine flu. All right. You can have mutate, and this is why I keep on saying you got to look at the replicase mutations, those 4 proteins that are tied to the replicase complex. If they're mutated in a certain way that leads to better replication in the cell, all right, and the truncation of the NA protein or further mutations on the HA protein, then you got something that is dangerous. All right. So she's right if she's using the word avian flu that is tied to the 1997 Guangdong lineage. But there are other avian flus that have mutated naturally that have eventually became part of the human influenza mixture. So she's right, but she's a little loosey-goosey on the details, but that's because she's not, you know, she's not a scientist, right? It's not her fault.
So what we know about the first situation is that it happened in a factory farm setting. So this jump from bird to human happened in conditions that were very extreme. What we know about this recent situation is that it happened on a feedlot. So this person was working at a feedlot where the cows were thought to have been infected with avian influenza. And they believe that that infection probably came from a wild bird. There were also some cats in the area that they thought were infected, but presumably it came from the cows and passed on to the human being. Now, I wasn't able to find any information as far as how many cows were on this feedlot, what the conditions were. I don't know if that information is out there, but I wasn't able to find that. But what I do know is that a feedlot is not a natural condition for a cow to be in or for an animal to be in. What I also know is that the poultry house with 60,000 broilers that were being culled is not a natural condition for chickens to be in and for humans to be in. I don't want to say anything bad about this feedlot without knowing the specifics, but just knowing what I know about these places, it's very likely that these animals were crowded and stressed. And so that's what I want us to remember. It is very different conditions than what we're dealing with backyard chickens, where chickens are scratching the earth, they're feeling the sun on their backs, they're
She's
living
making a great point, and I finished 2 books recently. One was by Shama, and it was called Foreign Bodies. I finished it maybe a month and a half ago. A great book, and it talks about how history somewhat changed, human history changed through different pathogenic issues throughout human history, right? And a big part of this is the massing of people in urban settings with poor sanitary conditions. All right. So she's basically saying the same thing. Mass animals in poor sanitary conditions or subpar sanitary conditions, and you're increasing the probability of something happening. In addition, I also read a book called Pathogenesis by, I think his name is Professor Kennedy from England, the UK. And he goes, I think, a little bit more scholarly in terms of the full arc of plagues for humans during different time periods, Neolithic time period all the way to modern day. All right. What is interesting is that there seems to have been a change in actually health of humans when they moved from hunting and gathering to when they went into agriculture. Now, they went into agriculture or agrarian societies because it was more stable. You would be able to store the grain, you would be able to make breads. You know, it allowed for a higher density population. And therefore, over time, as the population started to increase, diseases would start to spread more. And that there was the beginnings of, you know, farming and animal herding and all this stuff, right? Well, going from hunting and gathering had a certain population density that was low that prevented a mixture of virus from animal to human and from human to human. But once you started increasing the density of humans to animals because of farming and humans to humans because of urbanization, then you're increasing the chances of conditions to be right where outbreaks would happen. Pathogenic outbreaks. Now, they could be viral, they could be bacterial, they could be fungal. Now, it seems that when hunting and gathering societies transitioned into this agricultural society, they actually, their body changed. Hunting and gathering societies were stronger. And they actually, if you look at, if you analyze the bones and the teeth of the skeletons of these types of societies, the hunting and gathering societies seem to have had less disease. While you start looking at the bones and the teeth of this, the skeletons of the agricultural societies, you can see that there were periods of time and certain populations that actually had vitamin deficiencies, which makes sense. There's a loss of certain types of vitamins when you move from a heavy meat diet to a heavy vegetarian diet or grain diet. All right. So, and back then, you know, they didn't have supplementation, right? And because of this higher density with these the urbanization or the agricultural societies with animals with decreased or decreased vitamin intake, so these agricultural societies started to develop vitamin deficiencies. It was a condition that led to outbreaks. All right. There's some evidence to suggest that there were these different waves of Homo sapien exiting out of Africa and having some conflict with Neanderthal. And there seems to have been a retreat of Homo sapien back into Africa. And they think what was happening is that the health of Neanderthal, because of their heavy meat diet, they were more robust to be able to weather some sort of conflict with Homo sapien. This is the first exodus out for Homo sapien. Okay, and their theory is, and this I got this out of the pathogenesis book from Kennedy. So Professor Kennedy. So I think his name's Jonathan. The thought here is that there was some sort of pathogen, that most likely viral, that Neanderthal had an immunity to, that Homo sapien did not. And that first wave of exodus out and having contact with Neanderthal, Homo sapien had to retreat because of sickness. But over time, the ones that survived, they ended up having some sort of immunity. Now, immunity can happen in a lot of different ways, right? You can have innate immunity, you can have adaptive immunity, but there's also things can happen where, especially with viruses, where things can get genomically integrated, and there is kind of an evolutionary process over time where the genome is kind of modified. Many of the non-coded regions of our genome are viral, all right, because of our exposures. Now, what that means, I don't think that even modern science understands the non-coded regions very well. And I think over time, we're going to start realizing that the genome is much more dynamic than we have ever thought. So, but we only can work with what we know right now. But over time, when Homo sapien decided to exit out, do another exodus out of Africa, they were more fit, while because of environmental stressors, the Neanderthals, maybe because of lack of food or change of environment, whatever, their populations were starting to go down, and they were weakening in health. So that's the working hypothesis. So it's important to understand that quality of food and population densities are part of the variables involved in pathogenesis.
As opposed to life in factory conditions. So why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you because over the next few weeks or over the next few months, you are very likely going to read some headlines that might scare you. And, I hope that's not the case. I hope it ends now and we don't hear anything else about it. But knowing what I know, I think it's probable that we're going to see more cases and we're going to see more headlines. And in those headlines, we're going to see the word backyard flock. When you see those headlines, I just want you to ask yourself where the real danger is. Is the real danger in a backyard flock that isn't overcrowded, where people have good husbandry practices, the chickens have everything they need, or could the real
backyard flock is a way for big ag to control the homestead farmer? You see this in suburbia, where you have HOAs trying to say that you can't grow a garden.
Danger be in places like this. I'm not saying that avian influenza isn't real, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a concern. In fact, in a minute, I'm going to share with you some resources where you can find information on how to avoid avian influenza in your flock. What I'm saying is that I don't want you to be scared. I don't want you to form opinions and make decisions that are based on fear. I want you to keep spending time with your chickens. I want you to keep taking great care of them like I know you are, because when it comes to most negative things, especially fear, I feel like the best defense against that is the peace that we feel within ourselves. That is real resilience. Okay, so if you want to know more about how you can prevent avian influenza in your backyard flock, there's definitely things that you can do to feel better, to feel like you're doing all you can to prevent it. I've got a whole playlist about avian flu. Okay.
All right, lovely. Okay. So again, low risk for the average person. a little bit higher risk, but still low for people that are working on these cattle or, you know, these dairy farms or even chicken farms, right? And it seems to the outbreak that seems to be going on in Colorado seems to be mostly due to the culling of the herd, the culling of the flock, and not so much just normal exposure from a chicken to a human. I think that's an important takeaway here. But again, you know, she's saying, don't worry. Don't worry if this is a natural phenomenon, if it's zoonosis. But like I said before, this could be zoonosis, but that doesn't mean that someone doesn't take an opportunity to release something that has been played around with in the laboratory and have something that is more dangerous to herds, maybe very minor to humans, or more dangerous to humans. We don't know. And believe me, we have laboratories that have supercharged H5N1. No doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. It's been published papers, and there's no doubt about it. The question is, do they take this as an opportunity? Another question that takes place is, why did this happen all of a sudden during an election year? You know, there's a lot of coincidences that are taking place. And, you know, there are big pharmaceutical companies that are coming up with, you know, influenza inoculations and COVID inoculations. So I'm concerned, you know, you need to be suspicious. You know, maybe not, maybe the word worry isn't the right word, but you need to start being a little bit more discerning and ask questions, right? Because people, power brokers, can use this as an opportunity to release something. And it's still not proven that the close lineage to 1997 Guangdong lineage, what's floating out there right now is so close to it, we don't know that it was released in wild birds on purpose. We don't know that. I can't prove it, but it's possible. With that said, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nanosilver solution. I take it every day. You take a teaspoon of structural nanosilver liquid. I have 3 different types. I have max 35 and a max 14, right? Max 35 is 35 ppms, 14 is 14 ppms, and the structural nanosilver, this one is 30 ppms. They're all at different price points. Take a teaspoon of it a day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. Swish it in your mouth, gargle with it, and swallow. This is going to neutralize pathogens and maintain that mucosal barrier. A lot of people, you know, that are watching the news, they may have problems sleeping, all right? Get the good night formula. You need 3 cycles of REM sleep a night to have proper detoxification of your cells, especially the central nervous system, to consolidate memory and to have more energy when you wake up. You need good, proper sleep every day to have your body at the highest performance that it can be. A lot of people, when they get older, they have problems sleeping. You need to sleep and detoxify the body. When you get older, there's lots of oxidative stress that's taking place. And when you're not sleeping, you're not detoxifying. So it just builds up. And so as people get older, it just is a compound in a downward direction. Well, you want to reverse that. How do you reverse it? Proper diet, proper exercise, proper supplementation, proper sleep, proper challenging of the brain. So go and get the Good Night formula, and it has melatonin and tryptophan in it, and lots of other things. But this will help you have a good night's sleep to be able to rejuvenate the body. Another important product that I have is the digestive enzyme complex. This helps to break down carbs, carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. It lessens the load on your pancreas. When you get older, you have people's pancreases are not as functioning as when they were younger. In addition, if you work out, by taking this before your workout, you're going to be able to recover faster because you're going to be able to break down your recovery formulas. So in addition to that, this has proteolytic, which means it breaks down glycoproteins, and there's glycoproteins on pathogens, and it will break down fibrin. So it has fibrinolytic enzymes. Why is that important? It breaks up clots. So you should be taking this every day, all right, as part of the protocol. Lignans, really important. Prevalences of cancers are going up. People's immune systems are subpar. Take this powder every day. Get lignans. Take it every day with water or with food. All right, and this is going to help to boost up your immune system. You can take my advice or not take my advice, but if you do take my advice, you're going to be on the journey of healing your body, improving your immune system, slowing down the aging process, and increasing longevity. Or you can not listen to me and, age like everybody else. I don't care. But if you follow what I do, you're going to fare a lot better, and you're increasing the probability of having a more robust and have more vitality in your life. So go to my store and get the lignans. Take this every day. It improves your immune system and your hormonal health. It's for males and females. This is very important if you want to improve your body and your immune system to be able to fight cancer. For cancer prevention. Turmeric, very important. It brings down inflammation. It's an antioxidant. You should be taking this every day. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Clarity factor, really important to improve your memory, to improve your clarity, being able to focus on your work or on school. When you're older, you need to challenge your mind, keep those neurons attached and those neurotransmitters firing. Clarity factor is a very high quality product that's going to help you maintain your mental acuity and your health. Ashwagandha brings down inflammation and controls the blood glucose levels. By controlling your blood glucose levels and your inflammation, you're going to be improving your cardiovascular system. I'm telling you, you followed my advice and you are going to slow down the aging process, and your immune system is going to skyrocket. All right, now skyrocket in health. Now, what I want to do is
the Centers for Disease Control is sending a team.
Video that I saw here that I wanted to play.
To get started in data analytics, you don't need previous experience or a degree. The Google Data Analytics Certificate will teach you to code in R.
Shop for some of the most fascinating science and technology news out there. I'm Christy Taylor in New York.
And I'm Rowan Hooper in London. This week on the podcast, researchers are proposing a new, simpler way to define a planet, and we'll take a closer look at fears of a key ocean current's collapse.
Plus, we will set sail to another solar system. Theoretically, anyway.
I want bird flu.
We'll find out about the hunting habits.
Where's the bird
of
flu?
sea slugs. But first, in early May, we talked about the growing concern about avian flu, not in birds, but in dairy cows in the United States. Cows have tested positive, virus fragments have been detected in the milk supply, and at that time, we had also seen one U.S. dairy worker, yes, a human, recovering from infection. This virus has not gone away, and now new human infections are raising more concerns. So health reporter Grace Wade is back this week with some updates on what we know about the spread of avian flu and how the U.S. agricultural system is responding. Hey there, Grace.
Hi.
All right, so bird flu, it's a perennial concern, but of course it gets more concerning when we see more humans getting infected, since every time this animal virus jumps into a human, it has a chance to mutate and become more dangerous. So with that in mind, what do we know about the latest cases?
Right. So earlier this week, public health officials announced that 5 people had tested positive for avian influenza in Colorado. All of them were presumed to have a strain of the virus known as H5N1 because they were working with H5N1 infected chickens, though the health officials are still analyzing some of the samples to confirm that's the case.
I mean, 5 does seem like a lot, given it was kind of big news in May that a single person had been infected. How many other people in the US are known to have been infected with this bird flu at this point?
Only 5 other people have tested positive for the virus in the US. The first was a poultry worker who contracted it in 2022, and then the other 4 cases were detected this year in dairy workers who were exposed to sick cattle. So 5 cases is a lot. It doubles the number of known infections in the country. And the good news, though, is that all of them had mild symptoms and have made a full recovery.
Yeah, I definitely find the new US cases to be more than a little concerning because,
My understanding as of this recording, that this video was published 1 day ago, and I'm recording this on July 20th. There is some evidence to suggest that there's another case in Colorado. So it might be 6 in Colorado.
I mentioned it's bad when it gets to humans, but also it would be really bad if it mutated to spread from one human to another. So these new cases, can we assume that the poultry workers got the virus from poultry?
So that's the leading theory, since all the workers were in close contact with sick animals. And this is a well-known risk on poultry farms, which have been battling bird flu outbreaks for a couple of years now. That is why there are such strict protocols around wearing personal protective equipment when working with infected birds. The fact 5 workers on the same farm contracted it suggests that maybe they weren't following those guidelines.
Yeah, so why not? If the risk was so well known, why weren't they wearing protective gear?
Well, we don't know for sure that they weren't wearing PPE, but if that is the case,
They were culling the flock, and they had higher risk exposure because of the conditions of culling the flock. That's why.
Because of a heat wave in Colorado. At the time they were calling the birds, temperatures outside were about 104 degrees Fahrenheit or about 40 degrees Celsius. It was likely much hotter in the barn. So as you can imagine, wearing a respirator, gloves, and a full protective suit would have been really, really uncomfortable. But again, this is all speculative at this point.
Wow, it's real interaction.
My understanding was it was a N95 mask, not a respirator. So I think she's wrong on that. It's an N95 mask, I thought that.
Between the climate crisis and zoonotic disease, isn't it? If that is the case.
Yeah.
But what about the dairy workers, though? Do we know how they contracted it?
Well, that is less clear, and that's because H5N1 only began circulating in dairy cows about 5 months ago. Before that, the virus wasn't known to infect cattle, so we don't understand how it is transmitting between the cows, much less between cows and workers. One of the leading theories is that it is contaminated milk. We know milk from sick cows contains high amounts of the virus, so we think that maybe some of this contaminated milk is splashing onto workers' faces or getting on their hands, and then they rub their eyes or scratch their nose. But we don't have enough evidence to say that is definitely how it is happening. And part of the reason is because public health officials have struggled to monitor dairy workers on affected farms.
Yeah, and I remember we talked about this earlier in the year, so nothing's changed. We still don't have lots of, testing, even after more human cases.
Yeah, so right now, if cows on a...
At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. They put their names on.
Yeah, so right now, if cows on a farm test positive, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is encouraging state and local health departments to monitor workers for signs of the disease. But farmers and their workers have to consent to this surveillance, and some of them don't due to mistrust in public health agencies. This means that some cases in dairy workers may be going undetected. It also makes it harder for us to know what sorts of interactions between workers and cows give them the highest risk for contracting the virus.
So just to summarize, this bird virus now also infects dairy cows and has also infected 10 people in the US ever that we know of, with 9 just this year. And there's no requirement to test dairy workers to understand the spread better. So where are we on the worry meter?
Well, the World Health
Well-
Organization says the risk of spillover to humans is an enormous concern. But from a personal perspective, unless you have close contact with animals that may have H5N1, or you are drinking raw milk, which you should absolutely not be doing, your risk of contracting H5N1 is very, very, very low. Now, if we start to see evidence of the virus transmitting between workers or other people they interact with, that is a different story.
All right, so they'll go into other topics in science. Please go to my store, the-studio.reykjavik.com. There's allergies that people get because of the pollen and being outside. The cold season is coming in September and October, so get a few bags of these lozenges and drops. I have honey and lemon drops in 100 count. I also have it in blueberry count, 100 blueberry drops in 100 count. And I also have elderberry zinc in a 21 count. You take this right when you start feeling a little irritation, either because of allergies or maybe even a pathogen. The reason why is that this has structural nanosilver. It'll neutralize pathogens, and it will allow for those secretions to be able to improve the barrier in the epithelial lining in your mouth, in your throat, the back of your throat, down your esophagus. So it's really important to start using these right away, and you'll lessen the burden, lessen the load. In addition, I have another type of structural nanosilver gel in a dispenser. You can carry this in your bag easily. You use it the same way. You put it on your hands, and it'll stay active for 5 hours. It's a lot better than Perel. It'll help actually to heal your skin. It'll neutralize pathogens because it has the structural nanosilver. You can put it around your mouth, around your nose, around your ears, around your eyes, lightly coat your nostrils. With the gels, as part of a daily routine, what you can do is lightly coat your fingers and put the gel, either two types of gel that I have on the store, doesn't matter, and lightly coat your nostrils. That way you're improving the mucosal lining and that epithelial lining in your nose. What you'll also notice is that by doing that, you're creating a protective barrier, you're neutralizing pathogens, and you'll be able to slightly breathe a little bit better because it helps to open up the passageway for air. So do that on a regular basis. This is a very high quality product, so go to the store and get the structural nanosilver gel in the dispenser. I have resveratrol. This is an antioxidant. It helps to get rid of senescent cells, and it's part of an anti-aging protocol. Now, I'm going to be coming up with a larger product line next month, where when you couple all this stuff together, it will even accelerate the anti-aging capability, all right? So it's really important to be taking resveratrol, all right? And follow my lead on this when it comes to bringing down inflammation, neutralizing pathogens, neutralizing reactive oxygen species by taking very strong antioxidants, and you're coupling with all these other supplements. There's a stacking effect that's taking place. There's a synergistic effect that takes place. There's an additive effect that takes place where your immune system is improved, you get more energy, and you're slowing down the aging process at the cellular level and even at the mitochondrial level, because your mitochondria has its own circular DNA, all right? So, it's not just the cell DNA that you want to improve, but you want the mitochondrial DNA to also improve and to be protected. So take the resveratrol. Vitamin C, really important so you don't get scurvy, but in addition, it helps to boost up the immune system. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose of this. In addition, by taking vitamin C, you'll improve your skin, especially when you take the collagen that I have on my store. So you should be drinking 64 ounces of filtered water, take the vitamin C, take the collagen, take the C60, which is a strong antioxidant, put this silver gel, either the tube or this container, you put the silver gel on your skin at night and exfoliate in the morning. And you take the resveratrol, and they all work together to improve the dermal layer. And the collagen, the vitamin C will cross-link and improve the dermal layer. The topical, which is the structural nanosilver gel, will improve the surface of your skin. And the resveratrol will help to get rid of senescent cells in the basal layer. And the C60 will help to reduce the reactive oxygen species, the oxidized stress in the skin. That's a great way to improve your skin. Take my advice or don't take my advice, it's up to you. The C60 is a very, very strong antioxidant. I have in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, and an 8 ounce configuration. You can get it in extra virgin olive oil, in MCT coconut oil, or avocado oil. Take a teaspoon of this a day, and you're going to start seeing that you're going to have more energy, and you're lessening the load, the stress in the cell, the oxidized stress in the cell, and your body is healing, and you're slowing down the aging process, and it improves the mitochondrial health. Very important to take every day. You'll get this compound effect that takes place. In addition, D3, really important for gene expression, because it's a gene expression cofactor, helps to absorb calcium, and it helps to get rid of cells that are infected. And how does it do that? It activates the apoptosis. You really need to take this, all right? Take this every day. I have partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we have developed these deodorants that help to detoxify the body and are very high quality deodorants. They're made from essential oils from the Himalayas. This one is citrus, and the other one is peppermint lavender tea tree. Made from essential oils from the Himalayas. It will help to detoxify your body. Get a couple bars of this. It's for males and females, very high quality deodorant. And not only that, it has no aluminum in it and no baking soda. This is going to be the highest quality deodorant that you're going to be able to buy. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the products that I have. Stack this. The whole idea is stacking. Stack this, and you're going to be improving your body. It's about proper diet, proper exercise, proper balancing, proper supplementation, filter your water, challenge your mind, get enough sleep, have mindfulness, either through meditation or prayer, and you're going to start to see an improvement in your body. You're going to start to see that you're moving in a slower aging environment. And when you're doing that and you compare it to your peer group that's not doing it, you are aging slower than they are. Take my advice or don't take my advice. I don't care. But what I have to offer and what I am doing for my own body works. Period. It works. Full stop. Now, what I like to do here is I want to see if there's another. How's Warriors? We played that one. Yeah, I think that I'm going to stop with the influenza H5N1 for just the cursory view of the media and how they were, discussing it. Now I'm going to do another video talking about some of the sequencing findings from Colorado specifically. Thank you for listening. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video. Please share my videos. Please ask your social media to follow me. You're going to need my advice on many things, all right? Especially when we go through tumultuous things in our life, right? So it's up to you. It behooves you to help me reach a larger audience. So thank you for listening and have a nice day.